Heroes of Fantasy Football Podcast.
And welcome back to another episode of the Heroes of Fantasy Football Podcast. I am your host for this evening, Matt High, joined by Rich Kopech and Chris Felice. Gentlemen, how are we doing tonight? Football is upon us. We did our drafts. We're in one more, probably as the show goes on. So how we doing?
It's football eve. I couldn't be happier. I'm here. I'm ready. I'm excited to see my fantasy teams rise, for them to fall, for me to cry and stress week after week, knowing that it's going to decide my mood for the next 5-6 months. I can't wait. It's going to be a great time. And my favorite part is to watch another horrible season of New York Football Giants. Fantastic.
Hooray!
Yeah,
Yay.
hooray! What about you, Rich? How are you feeling on this splendid, fine football eve?
I'm wonderful. I'll tell you, I've had a great day today on this eve, so just primed up and ready to go for tomorrow, for Friday, and roll it into the weekend and get on with the 7 hours that is the commercial-free football. Can't wait for it all. It's back, baby. So
Can I
bring it.
can I interrupt really fast? Did you guys see what's his name? Scott Hansen, I think. Right?
Yep.
Is that his name? Yeah, did you guys see that he was like in some interview or whatever, and he got stopped in the middle of the street one time? He was like telling a story, and some random guy says, "Say it," and the guy goes, and he said like the whole like 7 hours of commercial free football. And he goes, "Yeah," and then he hopped in his car and
So
left. I just thought it was really funny. Like the guy didn't even say hi. He just said that and just left.
That's awesome.
It's on my bucket list. I
Yeah,
want to see it in person.
That'd be fun. That'd be a lot of fun. But with the NFL season beginning tomorrow, so we're recording this Wednesday night. So by the time you listen to this, you only got a couple more hours before the first football game, and it's going to be a fun one. So to prepare everyone for week 1 of the NFL fantasy season, we're going to do our starts and sits. We each have 2 starts and a sit for this week. Go over some defensive streamers, as well as some decisions that you might have in your leagues, deciding which guy to play. I guess the blanket thing is going to be start the guys that you drafted to be your starters, but there are a couple other guys that you might need to make a decision on, especially with injuries. But without further ado, Chris, why don't we kick it off with your first start of the week?
Gotcha. Yeah, so I'm gonna go right out of the gate, just hit him hard. Lad McConkey is my first start. Now, why would you start Lad McConkey? Allow me to run through a scenario in your head. Okay, so you have CeeDee Lamb or Jamar Chase. They may not play week 1. Who knows? So they gotta elevate one of your other wide receivers that you've drafted to that wide receiver 1 spot, and then also wide receiver 2 slot. But that means your flex is freed up. Now, many people, and many 10 to 12 people, person leagues, are probably going to be trying and pick and choose who is going to slide in there, and I'm going to make the case for Lad McConkey. Number 1 wide receiver on the depth chart for the Los Angeles Chargers. At least according to Sleeper. I actually thought was different a little while ago, so that might be wrong. It might actually be Josh Palmer. There's a very good chance it's one of the two. And someone can correct me on that if I'm incorrect. But moving on from there, I think that he's primed for, as I've said before, a fantastic season. He's up against the Raiders, not the best in terms of covering all their bases. While the wide receiving room in Los Angeles isn't exactly the greatest, it does mean that they have to try to utilize every single option. I'm going to slam down the gavel. Touchdown alert right here, right now. Lad McConkey. That's how I kind of feel it. Sorry, I'm moving my mic a little closer. But yeah, that's where I'm feeling right now. Lad McConkey, shove him in your flex spot. You have maybe a guy who's not going to start. You have maybe a guy who isn't going to, perform maybe up against a really bad defense. That's kind of how I'm feeling right now. So Lad McConkey is the guy I'm going to shove in my flex spot if I have to.
I love Lad McConkey this year, and for a lot of the points you made, I think he should be a pretty solid wide receiver in his rookie year. So, and we all know Warren loves him. So
That is true.
So
Does love him. Yeah, I've heard that before.
yeah. So Rich, who is your start of the week?
Ooh, okay. I thought you were gonna go, but yes, I'll go. And my first guy is Taysom Hill. Taysom Mountain, really. Versus the Carolina Panthers this week. So great matchup overall. And really, it's we're gonna start off hot here because I want to help you Kyle Pitts managers out there who have some concern over this hamstring injury. I think that uh, Hill could be a good pivot for you to go to if you are looking to get away from the whole Kyle Pitts experience and the hamstring injury or hamstring condition that's going on right now. I mean, with Hill, we have heard that he's expected to have an expanded role in the red zone rushing game. So I love to hear things like that. We know how versatile he can be, plays multiple positions on the field. So just as a tight end, you get the kind of bonus there as a running back and also quarterback. I mean, he has played in both. He's kind of that Swiss Army there. So it'll be interesting to see how Clint Kubiak will use this Swiss Army knife of a man. But with the matchup on Sunday, I really think it's going to be a good day for him. Carolina last year was about the middle of the pack when it came to giving up points at the tight end. So obviously no serious threat there, but they gave up just about 25 fantasy points per game on average to the running back position and the most rushing touchdowns. I know it's Kamara's backfield, but I mean, just the way that they utilize him and how Kubiak loves him, I honestly feel like he's going to be utilized greatly on Sunday, and it's going to end up with at least a rushing score. So, good pivot.
The amount of stones you need to have to play Taysom Hill in the past, it seems like, I mean, I did it a couple times last year, and it was exhilarating because it paid off when I needed it to. But man, Taysom Hill, I don't know how that man is still doing what he's doing. I thought he had dirt on Sean Payton, and here he is doing the same thing with the next coach. It one of the biggest mysteries in the NFL is what he is. I know he's tight end eligible, which is awesome. So it's going to be fun this week. I agree. I would be okay starting him, which feels really wrong, but I think it's a good decision.
I'm not starting him. Absolutely not. I'm too terrified. I'm terrified of. Listen, I mean this. I think if he was just a tight end, I would be okay with starting him. But he wears way too many hats, and it's scary. It's really scary. He terrifies me. He's kind of like the boogeyman. He's the Baba Yaga of the NFL. He's the guy who sent to kill the boogeyman. Yeah, no, I'm good. No, he can go play QB 1 week and then running back 1 week and then wide receiver 1 week and then tight end. Then that's fine.
Let's just say you're between that whole Kyle Pitts hamstring situation. No other options.
Gotcha. Yeah, then I'll start Taysom Hill. That's fine.
Right.
Yeah. That's okay.
Something I like to hear.
Taysom Hill is a lot of fun, but he scares the bejesus out of me, as he probably should. So I'm gonna go here. My next guy is going to be Travis Etienne this week, heading up against the Miami Dolphins. Last season, he had a stretch of multi-touchdown games, and despite all of us hearing how Doug Peterson wants to just take some work away from him, lessen the burden on this star running back, it just hasn't happened yet. We've all seen the Tank Bigsby experience, and so far it's just a really sad story. I know because I have him, and it's been upsetting. They're just going to give him as much work as he could possibly handle, especially this week. Now, looking into this week's showdown with the Dolphins, they have been obliterated on the defensive side of the balls, losing key pieces: Christian Wilkins, Robert Hunt, Xavier Howard, Andrew Van Ginkel, Brandon Jones. I mean, there's a bunch of guys gone. They signed a few large names like Calais Campbell and Jordan Brooks, but according to PFF ranks, they're still bottom 8 on defensive line of the football. So with an over-under of 49 points, there should be plenty of scoring, and I'd argue ETN has the highest odds in this game for a pretty boom week to kick off your fantasy football season. So start him up with confidence. I think he's going to be finished top 5 at the position.
Okay, pretty bold. All right, everyone, you hear that? He's going to get sat, benched, and maybe injured just because Matt High said it. You all
Matt
know
High
now.
guarantee.
Now you know.
Book it.
Funny.
All right, Chris. Second start. Who are we thinking now?
Of course. My second start is DK Metcalf going up against the Denver Broncos. This is definitely more like, you draft them, you're probably gonna use mostly flex. You're maybe like, do I start him? Do I start this other random guy I drafted like right after him? No, I would start DK Metcalf. I feel pretty confident in the Seahawks going up against the Broncos defense. I gotta be honest, I don't know what the team's gonna look like. The Broncos, I'm saying. I'm not sure what exactly is gonna happen there. But I'm gonna go with that there's gonna be some adjustments. Like adjustment period, I should say. And so they're probably not gonna play the best right off the gates. Meanwhile, the Seahawks virtually have no changes in that offensive sort of style there. They have the same three guys they're going to throw to. Maybe Tyler Lockett gets phased out for JSN more than likely, but we know DK is the guy. We know that Geno is going to crutch on DK Metcalf more than likely to an extent. I think it's a very solid flex pick going into this weekend against a team that more than likely is going to be trying to figure itself out within the first couple weeks.
DK Metcalf is one of these. I mean, Rich, you said it in one of our previous episodes. He's just been that real solid wide receiver 2 for fantasy. I don't feel comfortable if he's a 1 on my team, but if he's a wide receiver 2 or possibly even a flex, depending on where he fell in drafts this year, I don't know if you can have a better one.
Agreed. I definitely like him. I mean, if you have him as a flex, congratulations. It's a great flex option
you won
right
the
there.
league. Have fun.
Excuse me. Yeah, but that's great. I agree with you there. I love DK. So ride it. I'm gonna lead in then to my second guy then. And my second start of the week is gonna be Jordan Love playing against the Philadelphia Eagles. I love what I see from the
Actually, we
Green
did
Bay
there.
Packers offense. Yeah, ever. Yeah, so he gets the honor of playing in this Brazil game. Love that. So it's going to be an adventurous time. I know that the players are all psyched to get down there, and it's really safe there, I hear. So they're all excited to see everything that's down there and all. So, yeah, congrats to the players that are going there. But nonetheless, it's going to be great. I think the matchup is phenomenal for both sides. Green Bay, Philly, I love it. I think it's points galore. It's going to happen under the Friday night lights there. Upper echelon offenses, on both sides. So the only thing really that gives me the confidence to play Jordan Love is that last season on the entire of the season, on average, the Eagles gave up the most fantasy points to both the wide receiver and quarterback position. So as a combo, kind of self-explanatory there. It's just a matter of, is it going to play out the same? I think the defense of the Eagles hasn't exactly changed much. If not, maybe has gotten a little bit worse. So I imagine Jordan Love is going to be able to take care of business. I've talked, ad nauseum about this Green Bay Packers receiving core, including my boy Dontavian Wicks. But of course, I just think in general it's going to be a great game. So fireworks galore. Bring on the fantasy points.
Jordan Love, I think, is going to be one of these breakout quarterbacks. I mean, he kind of already did last year, but he's going to be someone, I think, who's going to end up being talked about as one of the best values of the position when we do our recap at the end of the year. And he starts off in a good spot already. So I love that pick. I was not going to lie, I was looking at him. I almost made him, but I got another guy I want to talk about instead. So what are your thoughts on Jordan Love, Chris?
Yeah, no, I like Jordan a lot. I like Jordan Love. He's definitely a quarterback that I targeted a tiny bit in drafts, depending on like how my team looked like. I like targeting obviously mid to late round guys, as everybody knows. It's worked out to an extent for a bit. I completely agree. I personally think that after this year, right, Jordan Love does his thing. He, has another fantastic season. I am predicting a Jalen Hurts like jump on ADP boards. There was like 1 year where Jalen Hurts was like ranked like 20th something amongst all the quarterbacks like a couple years ago. And then, then he happened, as I like to say, and then it shot up all of a sudden top 5, right? I predict that might happen again. Very, very good chance that this year will be the last time we'll be able to draft him in those later rounds.
Yeah, I think he'll be going a lot earlier in drafts next year. So, but we'll see. Things we haven't even had football yet, so we'll see. A lot of things can change, but I think that's going to be one of the main talking points next season. So, I'm going to jump in here with my second start of the week. A little bit of a homer pick, being a Giants fan, but you can't deny the talent. So, Malik Nabers versus the Minnesota Vikings. Now, Nabers has the possibility of just being a huge play in 2024. He's arguably the only playmaker on this offense heading into his rookie season. As Rich said in the Heroes episode, he has the college stats that profile him as an easy wide receiver 1 for the NFL and possibly even for fantasy football. So despite the questionable play on the Giants with Daniel Jones and whoever else, Tommy DeVito was fun for a bit, he's just going to get enough volume that's going to keep his floor really high. The Vikings secondary is also ranked as the 6th worst coming into the season, according to PFF grades. So I gave you a guarantee earlier. I'm going to give you another guarantee. I put money that Malik Nabers will score a touchdown in his NFL debut because the situation he's in heading into week 1 is almost perfect. So that's not one.
Oh my God.
That's 2 Matt High guarantees for week 1.
Oh my God.
We're starting off strong.
Or his name isn't Matt High.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't
set the bar
high. I don't terribly dislike it. I don't like the Vikings defense by any shape or mean. I actually have 2 shares of Malik Nabers, funny enough, because I was able to draft him below his ADP. And I've strongly considered slotting him into my lineup solely because I know for a fact that if there was ever like a first time for him to go off, it'd be against a very not good defense, like the Vikings. So I don't dislike this. I do not dislike it.
I know, Rich, you're with me.
Yeah, I mean, I'm there. I will be yelling leak as soon as he gets into that end zone. All the way from my house, he will hear it.
Yes, he will.
I'm totally in.
All right, so now we gave the guys that we think are going to do well. Who should we be sitting this week? Chris, why don't we start with you?
Yeah, so I have Rhamondre Stevenson against the Bengals. Now I don't think the Bengals have the best run defense in the world. That isn't really the reason why I am doing this. The reason why I'm doing this is because I truthfully believe that they're going to try literally everything imaginable to figure out what their offense looks like. Jacoby Brissett, I believe, is still starting. I believe that's what has been confirmed, and no one has gone back on such words yet. So he is currently the guy going to be slotted in there. You have like one of the youngest wide receiving cores like in the NFL currently. I mean, I think the oldest guy there is a second year, right? I mean, it was Juju, but obviously he's gone now. I think the Mario Douglas is a second year. I think
Douglas.
Right? Yeah. So I think he might be the oldest. Everyone. So that offense is going to be very sketchy, and I don't think I want to take that risk. If I have someone that I feel like is more stable, like perhaps like in the later rounds, maybe like Singletary or or maybe like a Zamir White or something. Like I know I'm not gonna get like, may the pearly gates open and God rain down sort of game, but I do at least think I'm gonna get my like 10-ish points, and I'm gonna be okay with that. Like that's fine with me. I'd rather take sort of just stableness over what could be like he could be fine. I think he will be fine overall as the season progresses. Just this week in particular, as we're trying to figure stuff out, because obviously we saw how long that quarterback battle went between the two of them. Like you would think it wouldn't be because it's against Jacoby Brissett, but clearly there was some rough patches to be worked out. I don't want to take that chance on an offense that's still trying to figure itself out. I'll wait a little bit. I don't think it's Rhamondre Stevenson necessarily have to prove himself. I want to see the offense prove that they will utilize him in the best way possible, because that's also been a problem with him in the past. I believe he's been a good running back, but the issue is the offenses of the past Patriots have not really utilized them to the extent that I feel like they could have. So I'll wait a week or two before I'm just slotting him into my RB2 slot or a flex spot.
Yeah, it's been kind of. I mean, Rhamondre Stevenson is pretty good. It's just it doesn't seem like there's much upside in this offense just because of how things look. I mean, I want to throw it out there just because there is a non-zero chance it could happen, but we were kind of saying the same thing about the Houston Texans last year, and they came out swinging. So I don't think that's going to be another situation like that, but I will also entertain that being a possibility. So Rhamondre Stevenson is going to get as much volume as he's probably ever had. It just depends on. I think his ceiling is kind of limited just because I don't think they're going to score a whole heck of a lot. And if they don't, it's going to keep him down a little bit. But I agree with kind of sitting him this week. You probably got him late, so he's an RB2 flex play most likely anyway. So you probably
I just want to see what he can do before I bother putting my lineup.
I think that's a good idea. What about you, Rich?
On the other side of the fence here, I mean, I don't necessarily disagree with what you're saying. It's just for me, the way I view it is that Rhamondre Stevenson is really the only sure thing on the Patriots offense right now. And I think it runs through him. They paid him to be the guy, and I believe they're going to use him as such. Cincinnati doesn't scare me. They gave up the 12th, the 9th most touchdowns, rushing touchdowns on the season last year. Top 10, really. So it's definitely a non-formidable offense when it comes to rushing for me. I think so. If Rhamondre could have a day, we know he can. I think he could do it against the Bengals, but it'll be uphill sledding for sure. So don't disagree on the sit, but I mean, I don't necessarily think I have a choice really to take him out of some of my lineups.
You didn't draft 6 running backs? Is that what you're saying?
Unfortunately not, no.
That's really weird. I only ever do that. Duh.
I was told we only start 2. I figured I didn't need any past that.
What do you mean backup running back? You guys didn't draft Zeke?
Do I sit on the bench while I watch my players? Or?
Maybe. You never know. So where are we going for your sit of the week, Rich?
My sit of the week is the other side of the ball, actually. It's the Bengals running back room as a whole. Zach Moss and Chase Brown. And it's really just a wait and see approach for me with them until I kind of can see how that snap count and production plays out. It's been back and forth all offseason. People are in the camp of Chase Brown. People are in the camp of Zach Moss. And, it's tough for me to really kind of have any clarity at this point. So I'm going to wait until the smoke settles after week 1 and see what I can do with some of the data at that point. And also, not for nothing, the Patriots don't have much to show, but they're pretty good against the run. Giving up only 3.3 yards per carry and the 4th fewest rushing yards on the season last year. They brought back most of that front 7 from last year, so I'd imagine probably pretty similar. So I'd probably just stay away for this week just until we kind of see how it looks. I don't know what you guys think, though.
Which side are you guys on? Like, what do you think? Is it going to be Zach Moss? I know he was listed as the main running back on the depth chart, But do you think Chase Brown will end up being the one? Like, what are your thoughts on that? Because I'm on the Chase Brown side. I think this week
Oh
we'll
yeah,
see that. But
I
what do you
definitely
guys
think
think?
it's a Chase Brown. It's got to be Chase Brown. I think they're going to be playing from behind in most of these games, and Chase Brown has more of the receiving work or receiving uh, or profile. So it's to me, it's going to be Chase Brown just due to the work that he's going to receive.
Here's what I'll say. I would have been with you if all they did was get rid of Joe Mixon. But then they get Zach Moss after the season that he just had. Like, if you were confident in your guy, you would not have picked up Zach Moss. You would not have. At least in my opinion. I think maybe draft the running back in the draft, like later ish in it. But like I don't know. I see the Zach Moss pickup, and I think he's going to be the starter. It tells me that they're not confident in Chase Brown in the future, or being the future. Sorry, of that Bengals offense. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm overestimating the Zach Moss effect, so to speak. But I just that part worries me. Like I think I would like to see Chase Brown at least be given the opportunity to an extent, but a part of me thinks that that's probably not going to happen. At least not for now. I feel like Zach Moss will not only end up being the starter for this game coming up, but also for at least a good portion of the season as long as they keep winning. I don't foresee that changing unless if God forbid what happens. Maybe he's not that great. Maybe it's replaced, injury, whatever. But I don't know. The fact that they brought him on, that part kind of makes me worried a little bit for Chase Brown.
I'm gonna regret bringing this topic up, but
Oh no.
we all kind of knew the Rams were going to bring in a running back because it couldn't just be
Joe.
Kyron. Yeah. It couldn't. Joe's gonna pop in out of nowhere, and be like, "I heard somebody talking about Blake Corum," but that's the same situation. I think not that they don't trust or want to use Chase Brown, just that from an NFL roster construction standpoint, you need multiple backs. I mean, that's like the most injured position in the
And
NFL.
I'm gonna interject. While I do understand what you're saying, I would like to say that Kyron was the number one last year and Chase Brown was not. Like if that was the case, they just would have they easily could have drafted a running back in the later rounds. There were definitely plenty that could have choose from, and they definitely could have done that. That for me, I would have told you like 100% Chase Brown's the guy. He's number one. It's because they signed a running back, and of all the ones they signed, it was Zach Moss who had that year, and I'm like, that's what scares me. There's a bunch of others that they could have signed. Like if they had signed Gus Edwards or J.K. Dobbins, I would not be having this conversation. It would be Chase Brown, like just 100%. If they had signed, I don't know, if they had gone like AJ Dillon, it's just that's kind of how I'm feeling. Maybe I'm wrong.
The Packers might want AJ Dillon. So
no, true. I don't. Please, anyone can hear me. Please take AJ Dillon off my roster. I don't want him.
You're gonna have to drop him.
No, I probably will.
No one's gonna take him. I'm sorry, but his time in the NFL is kaput.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna run in here for my sit of the week. It's gonna be DeAndre Swift versus the Tennessee Titans. Now, I've been a believer in Swift since his rookie year, but now he's on his third NFL team, and it has me slightly worried. I've heard all the rumblings that he's the number one back in Chicago from beat reporters and everything, but just looking historically, a rookie quarterback does not come in and support as many options as the Bears currently have. They brought in DJ Moore last year. They have Keenan Allen this year, Rome Odunze, DeAndre Swift, Roshan Johnson was their pick last year. They still have Khalil Herbert on the offense. There's a lot of mouths to feed, and as good as I think Caleb can be, it's gonna be a little bit of time before we see what he can do. You know, he's gonna split time with Roshan and Khalil Herbert, you know, as Caleb acclimates to the NFL football, but it's just like you said before, Rich, I'd rather take the wait and see approach. You know, if Swift hits, it's going to be through the passing game, and I'm not sure in week one we're going to get those targets that you want. And right now he's being ranked on Fantasy Pros as the RB26 for week 1. So I don't think it's going to be a lot of fun this week. He might kind of PPR himself into, 8 to 12 points, but I don't really see that being any higher, and I think that could be his ceiling as we see the Bears for the first time with their new quarterback. So I'm going to stay away. What do we think of the Bears this week 1? Are you excited to watch Caleb Williams or no?
I am excited to watch Caleb Williams. Definitely excited to watch him. As far as DeAndre Swift, though, I mean, I kind of think that's where we're going to see him all season. As far as that, where he's ranked right now. RB, what was it, 26? You said?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, really, that's what it's going to be. He's going to kind of be in that RB 2-3. Might have a bump up week. I mean, remember last season he came out strong for the Eagles, so I can see him kind of doing the same. And if he does, use that opportunity to trade him.
Fair enough.
Sure.
That's a good point too.
I will say, in defense of DeAndre Swift of not being on the Eagles anymore, this is most definitely because the Eagles, probably for at least a little bit, knew they were getting Saquon Barkley. So, or at least, we're going to gun for him. So, like, you can decide if you're an NFL owner. Will you take DeAndre Swift or will you take Saquon Barkley? My choice is Barkley. But going back in in real talk here, I agree. I think this isn't like something I'm like, oh yeah, I can definitely understand the passive approach. However, I can understand, like, depending on the situation. I mean, Tennessee is the greatest defense of all time, run wise. And while yes, the rookie quarterback, all the new options. I mean, this team is offensively, besides DJ Moore, which actually might as well not even matter because of the new quarterback, they're basically entirely different. Who knows what could happen, right? And while I understand want to err on the side of caution, because you might be struggling a bit to an extent, I like DeAndre Swift. I think he's good. I don't think he's ever gonna get anywhere near the heights of what he's been in the past. I'll go with like a little higher than top 26. I'll go with like top 20, something around there, which is not too far up, but it's like enough to make a flex spot every week. So if you're struggling and you need a flex, I'd slot him in. Honestly, like if you're sitting there and you're like, man, I really don't know if I want to start. I'm trying to think of a comparable player. Xavier Worthy, or trying to think. Sorry, I'm really Tony Pollard. I'm really sorry if you're debating DeAndre Swift or Tony Pollard, just put Swift in. I promise. But you get what I'm trying to say here. If you need to, I feel like it can be. You can trust him.
We as a podcast have him. I'm looking at our consensus rankings. We have him on the season as the RB19. So I have him at 18. So apparently I'm the high guy on him. But I'm just saying week 1. I think as the Bears get into it, I think they'll be fine. I think he'll be a part of the game, the game script. But it's just week 1 I want to see first. I'm not going to bank on him coming through for me in week 1. All right, so those are our sits of the week now. We got a couple defensive streamers. The obvious one, congratulations to whoever got them in your drafts, the Bengals versus the Patriots. They face off week 1, and it's going to be a snooze fest on the Patriots side of the football, most likely. So the Saints versus the Panthers. I have the Vikings versus the Giants, as well as the reverse order, the Giants against the Vikings. Sam Darnold, we've kind of already said our piece about him, and the NFL has showed us that he's not very good. So that can definitely help you out. And I want to throw in a sneaky play this week. The Falcons defense against the Steelers. What do you guys think about that one? They're going to be they're probably still on waivers. I don't think anybody picked them up in our league. I think they might be okay. I mean, you got Russell Wilson. We haven't had fun with him for the past couple of seasons, so could be a sneaky spot.
Could be sneaky. Yeah.
I'll give my
Sneaky
piece.
defense.
I'm not doing it. Do you want to know why? One, I mean, Russell Wilson didn't look that bad last season, but also 2, if you guys notice, we haven't, like, besides the quarterback, like, competition between the two of them, we haven't heard a single thing about chemistry issues or things going wrong. That terrifies me. That means something's going right in that camp, right? If there's nothing coming out bad, that usually means stuff is fine, right?
I mean,
So
if you
I'm
remember
gonna,
last year, though, they were the kings of the preseason. They were going to the Super Bowl with
Who?
everybody. The Steelers.
Oh yeah,
Everyone thought they were going to the
sure.
Super Bowl, and they came
Of
out
course,
and sucked. So,
yeah,
we'll
and yet
see.
they still finished over 500 or at
Well,
500, whatever.
that's the Mike Tomlin.
It's Mike Tomlin, of course. But yeah,
it's in his contract. He's not allowed to finish below 500.
if he ever goes below 500, he will be burned.
And that'll be it. Yeah, he turns into
His soul will be sacrificed to the blood gods.
That's why it doesn't happen. But any other guys that you wanna throw out? I think those are the main ones. Week 1 is going to be kind of hard.
Yeah, those are the main ones.
Yeah,
you got to kind of play it out. We'll get more data as the season progresses to see which teams are actually bad, which ones you should target. We'll start throwing those out there as we get it. But all right, so we got a couple start-sit combinations I wanted to throw at you guys and see where you land. First one here, running back position. Probably your RB2 slot. David Montgomery against the Los Angeles Rams without Aaron Donald for the first time. Or Raheem Mostert versus the Jacksonville Jaguars defense. Rich, I want to hear from you first. Are you going with Montgomery or are you going with Mostert?
Definitely going with Montgomery here. I want a piece of that Lions-Rams game, that Sunday Night Football game. I think it's going to be a good one. So Montgomery, I think, will definitely get his worth of points. So it'll be good.
What about you, Chris?
sorry about that. Yeah, I like Montgomery over Mostert. Something about this week just screams touchdown. I'm not confident in the Rams defense in the slightest. And while I'm not confident that much more in the Chargers defense, I also feel as if
You mean Jaguars? Right.
Yes. Sorry.
The AC.
Wow, that was
yeah.
yeah. Sorry, that was a lot. That was a lot for me. Sorry. Besides the point, my yes, but you're right. The Jaguars, but that doesn't. My point still stands. While I'm not more confident in their defense to a certain extent on one, I do think that he won't be as prominent as he has been in the past. Whereas David Montgomery, while maybe sure might face that effect as well, nowhere near to the extreme that most will see, in my personal opinion.
Gotcha. All right, I got a flex question for you. This one's kind of fun. I'm excited to see what you guys think. Chuba Hubbard against the New Orleans Saints or Stephon Diggs versus the Indianapolis Colts. Chris, let's hear from you first this time.
Stephon Diggs. I'm gonna go Stephon Diggs. I'm gonna trust that CJ Stroud is a good quarterback, and that he is going to pick 2 wide receivers, and that he will make sure that both of them get fed. And I don't like Chuba Hubbard. That's honestly, I just don't like Chuba Hubbard. Like, take everything I just said, right? Yeah, sure, valid argument. I just don't like Chuba Hubbard.
All right, Rich.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to take Stephon Diggs here too. I think both of them are kind of a toss-up. I imagine that Chuba Hubbard may not have much opportunity, as I think the Saints are going to be leading the game for most of the games. So I think it'll be a lot more passing than running in that game for the Carolina Panthers. But I also, I don't have much faith in Diggs because there's a lot of mouths to feed on that side of the offense as well. But if I'm going to guess on which one's going to land in the end zone, most likely it's going to be Diggs over Hubbard.
All right, I got a wide receiver one next for you, and then a tight end one. We'll finish out the show. So Deontay Johnson versus the New Orleans Saints. So still sticking with that Panthers offense. Or Christian Watson versus the Philadelphia Eagles. I know you're high on Jordan Love this week. How are we thinking he's going to do? The hammy going to be a problem again? Or are we thinking he's back to normal?
Well, injury aside, if there is no setbacks, I'm going to take obviously the Christian Watson side just for the points I made earlier with Jordan Love and how I imagine that this game is going to be great. That doesn't take away anything from Deontay Johnson, though, as I said just right before, that there should be more passing than running for the Panthers. So, but I'm still taking Watson if he's healthy in a vacuum.
I completely agree. Watson 100%. I don't know if I'm super high on Deontay Johnson, but I am definitely very high on Christian Watson.
Yeah, Deontay Johnson's in a new offense. We don't know how it's going to look yet. Christian Watson, we know what to expect there, if healthy.
Yeah, it's a big if. It's been a big if for the past couple of years. So, all right, tight end question here. David Njoku against the Dallas Cowboys, against them boys, or Jake Ferguson versus the Cleveland Browns. Let's see, which tight end in that game would you prefer to start?
Ferguson. Because CD Lamb might not be fully warmed up. I know they were saying that. This is like the opportunity. If you have him, this is when you should use him. When the number one option is not going to be at 100% if he even plays. I think he will, but if he is there, they were saying you're going to try to ease him in. So
you got the bag.
This
play.
Yeah, this is when you use him right now. May not be for the whole future of the season, but for right now, you use him.
Yes, I agree. Jake Ferguson over Njoku. I much would rather throw. I know that the Cleveland defense is scary too, but I believe in Dak and Ferguson over Watson and Njoku. So,
alrighty. Well, it feels good to be back with the NFL season. You know, this is our first start-sit show of the season. There's going to be a lot more. We have more stuff coming up. So if you want to be a part of the show, follow us on X at the Heroes FF. Follow us on YouTube. Subscribe, like, share. We are at youtube.com/@theheroesFF. TikTok at the Heroes of Fantasy. Again, we're pretty much everywhere, so come check us out. We're excited to bring stuff to you. It would be really helpful if you guys could leave us a review on Apple Podcasts and everything. Leave comments in the show. Helps us get seen a little bit more. We want to bring out more new fun stuff for everyone. So just need to grow this thing, and we're here to help. Any questions, let us know. And that's going to wrap things up. So good luck in your week 1 of the fantasy season. We will see you all next week.
later.
Thank you again for tuning in to another episode of the Heroes of Fantasy Football podcast. Follow us on Twitter at the Heroes FF.